Nobody saw it coming. While the entire auto industry was busy chasing electric vehicles, premium SUVs, and flashy new launches, one company went completely quiet. No big press events, no celebrity endorsements, no leaked spy shots, just silence. And then, out of nowhere, a 75-year-old truck manufacturer dropped something that made the entire small commercial vehicle market stop and pay attention. The company was Ashok Leyland, and the vehicle was called Sathi. But here's what nobody's talking about. This launch wasn't just about a new mini-truck. It was about a company making a bet that could either redefine its entire future or destroy the reputation it spent 7 decades building. Every analyst, every auto journalist, every investor had their eyes locked on the same names: Toyota, Tata, Mahindra, the EV startups promising to revolutionize transportation. That's where the money was going. That's where the attention was flowing. And that's exactly why nobody noticed what Ashok Leyland was doing in the background. While everyone else was racing toward the future they imagined, Ashok Leyland was studying a completely different problem. Not the highways, not the showrooms, not the tech conferences. They were watching the streets, the narrow lanes of small towns, the early morning vegetable markets, the delivery agents loading and unloading goods before the sun came up. They were watching the people that the auto industry had quietly stopped caring about. And that decision to look where nobody else was looking is what started all of this. To understand why this matters, you have to understand who Ashok Leyland actually is. Most people know the name but don't know the weight behind it. This company was founded in 1948, 1 year after India gained independence, at a time when the country was still figuring out what it was going to become. Ashok Leyland was already laying the foundation of its transportation backbone. Starting in Chennai as Ashok Motors, the company later partnered with Leyland Motors of Britain and grew into something that became almost invisible in the best possible way. Invisible the way roads themselves are invisible. You only notice them when they're gone. Today, every third bus operating in India is an Ashok Leyland vehicle. In the financial year 2023 to 2024 alone, the company sold over 170,000 commercial vehicles. Their market share sits close to 30%. 9 manufacturing plants, over 6,000 service centers reaching into towns so small they don't appear on most maps. This was never a company that chased trends. It was a company that built things that lasted, and that reputation, quiet, sturdy, dependable, is exactly what made their next move so unexpected. Here's something the auto industry doesn't like to talk about: the glamorous launches, the electric revolution, the connected vehicles with touchscreens and over-the-air updates. None of that reaches the man who wakes up at 4 in the morning to load milk cans onto his vehicle. None of it helps the fruit seller navigating a pothole-ridden lane with 800 kilograms of cargo and a prayer. None of it solves the problem of the last-mile delivery agent whose entire livelihood depends on a vehicle that starts every single morning without fail and doesn't drain his earnings at the fuel pump. This is the customer that Tata Ace and Mahindra Gito had been serving for years, and to be fair, they did it well enough that nobody thought to challenge them. The segment felt settled, locked in, done. But Ashok Leyland looked at those same customers and saw something different. They didn't see a market that was served. They saw a market that was underserved and didn't even know it yet. And this is where the story starts to get interesting. But before we get to what they built, you need to understand the decision that made all of it possible. Because in an era where every competitor was either going electric or going premium, Ashok Leyland made a choice that looked almost old-fashioned on the surface. They chose diesel. Not because they didn't understand the EV revolution, not because they were behind the times, but because they understood their customer in a way that the rest of the industry simply didn't. They knew that for a milkman in rural Maharashtra or a delivery agent in a Tier 3 town, an electric vehicle isn't a solution. It's a problem. Charging infrastructure that doesn't exist. Range anxiety on routes that stretch beyond city limits. Repair costs that can wipe out a month's earnings in a single breakdown. Ashok Leyland looked at all of that and made a calculated, deliberate bet. Give these people something reliable, something affordable, something that works on day one and keeps working 5 years later. And that thinking produced the Sathi. The Sathi is built around a 1.5-liter 3-cylinder diesel engine that produces approximately 80 horsepower and 200 newton-meters of torque. Those numbers might not sound dramatic until you understand what they mean on an actual Indian road. This engine was designed entirely in-house by Ashok Leyland. No external suppliers, no outsourced components. That matters more than most people realize. Because when you design your own engine, you control every variable. The tolerances, the materials, the service intervals, the parts availability, and Ashok Leyland used that control to engineer something specifically for conditions that most automotive engineers never have to think about. Potholes deep enough to swallow a wheel, inclines that would make a European road test driver nervous, dust, heat, and humidity that would shorten the life of an engine not built for it. The Saathi's engine features a high-pressure fuel injection system that squeezes maximum efficiency from every drop of diesel, delivering a mileage of 20 to 23 kilometers per liter. In its segment, that figure is not just competitive, it's the best available, and paired with an advanced air intake system that prevents overheating even under sustained heavy loads. This engine was built not to impress on a spec sheet, but to survive in the real world. The body tells the same story. From the outside, the Saathi looks like a compact mini-truck. But look closer, and you start to see the philosophy behind it. The chassis is built on a full ladder frame, the same structural approach used in Ashok Leyland's heavy commercial trucks. Scaled down and refined, high-strength steel throughout. A rear load body engineered for even weight distribution so the vehicle doesn't destabilize under a full load. Ground clearance of approximately 170 millimeters, which means it can navigate roads that would stop a lesser vehicle cold. The front suspension uses a McPherson strut setup and the rear uses leaf springs, a combination that absorbs punishment while keeping the driver in control. And the load capacity sits at 1 full ton, 1,000 kilograms. Compare that to the Tata Ace at 750 kilograms and the Mahindra Gito at 700 kilograms, and you begin to understand what Ashok Leyland actually built here. More cargo per trip means more earnings per day. For a small business owner, that's not a feature. That's a lifeline. Then there's the price. And this is the part that genuinely surprised the market. The Saathi's starting price is approximately 6.6 lakh rupees. The Tata Ace starts at around 7.8 LA. The Mahindra Gito comes in at around 7 lakh. So Ashok Leyland came in lower than both, with higher load capacity, better mileage, and a stronger chassis. The company also made financing accessible with low down payments and easy installment structures, designed specifically for small business owners who don't have large capital reserves. When you add it all up, lower purchase price, lower fuel costs, lower maintenance costs, wider service network, the Saathi doesn't just compete with its rivals, it reframes the entire conversation about what a mini commercial vehicle should cost and what it should deliver. The market noticed immediately. Within weeks of launch, dealership inquiries spiked so sharply that bookings went to waiting lists in multiple locations across the country. Small business owners who had spent years buying second-hand vehicles started showing up at Ashok Leyland showrooms, asking about new ones. Auto analysts who had barely mentioned the Saathi before launch were suddenly writing about it as a potential segment disruptor. And Tata and Mahindra, companies that had owned this space for over a decade without a serious challenge, were paying attention in a way they hadn't needed to before. But here's the question that nobody has fully answered yet. Ashok Leyland built its reputation on highways and heavy loads. The relationships, the trust, the institutional knowledge, all of it was forged in a completely different world than the one the Saathi is entering. Can a company that spent 75 years thinking big truly master the art of thinking small? Can it build the kind of ground-level loyalty that Tata Ace owners feel? The kind that gets passed down from father to son in a family business? The Saathi has the specs. It has the price. It has the service network. But trust at that level isn't built in a product launch. It's built over years of showing up. And the real story of the Saathi isn't what happened at launch. It's what happens next. Because if Ashok Leyland gets this right, if the Saathi becomes as synonymous with small business reliability as their trucks are with highway endurance, then this wasn't just a new vehicle. It was the moment a 75-year-old giant quietly decided to start over from the bottom up, and nobody saw it coming.